Hi everyone, my name is Kandace Knudson and I'm the Distance Education Coordinator at Sacramento City College. I'm going to talk today about accreditation, best practices in distance education courses, and the recent district audit so that you have a better idea of how it all fits together and how it impacts what you do in your online and hybrid courses. At the end, I'm also going to walk you through the completion of your DE compliance plan if you need to complete one. As you know, our ACCJC visit is this October. The Accrediting Commission for Community and Junior Colleges is responsible for determining just how well we are meeting the high educational standards set by that accrediting agency and by state and federal regulatory agencies. The results of this year's accreditation process will be public and accessible by our state and federal regulators, who ultimately determine that we are eligible to receive federal and state funds to support our college. That's a very basic summary. For all courses where any of the instruction time is replaced with learning at a distance, our state and federal regulators recognize two classifications or modes of delivering instruction. One of these types is eligible for that state and federal funding, and the other type is not eligible in our situation. As you can see on the slide, the two types are correspondence education, which is not eligible for funding, and distance education, which is eligible for funding. As I just mentioned, the type that is not eligible for funding is called correspondence education and is generally defined by its lack of student-faculty interactions. Students in correspondence education will complete their coursework on their own and usually at their own pace. The other mode of instruction is called distance education, which is what we practice here at Sac City. It's defined by its faculty-initiated interactions between students and faculty, between students and the course material, and between students and each other. So essentially, the faculty-initiated regular and meaningful or substantive contact with students is what defines distance education. Let's talk about terminology before we go any further. As you can see, the federal and state governments have different terms for the same idea. The feds refer to the defining criteria of distance education as regular and substantive interaction, while the state calls it regular and effective contact. It's the same general idea, but with two different terms. It's helpful to look at some slides from ACCJC to see how they evaluate distance education. As you can see on this slide from ACCJC, their mission is to determine whether courses taught from a distance are either correspondence education, CE, or distance education, DE. Here, the ACCJC refers to the federal definition of DE as including regular and substantive interaction between faculty and students. That's my red highlighting on their slide. Here, they define correspondence education based on the limited interaction between students and faculty. Notice that they do not say non-existent interaction between faculty and students. There's a great deal of room for interpretation in their use of the words limited, primarily, and typically, and this is why we must be careful to take steps to ensure that our teaching practices are clearly and indisputably engaging our students in the course material, engaging them in interactions with us, and engaging them in interactions with each other. Now let's look at what the Los Rios audit examined. I'll talk briefly about what they measured, the results, and any action that you might be required to take as a result. Now that you know how important it is to identify our classes as distance education courses, you can see why the district wanted to find out just how much faculty are engaging with students in the online environment. This slide shows what the auditors considered as contacts between faculty and students. They counted the number of news items, discussion board posts, not topics but actual posts by faculty, and the number of individual pieces of feedback that faculty provided to graded items such as uploaded student files, quizzes, or exams. Note that the audit only counted the total number of overall contacts and the weeks in which they were made. They looked to see that you were making contact and that it was present in every week of your course. One comment you posted to one individual student assignment was counted just the same as one contact made to all students by way of a news post. As you can see, the audit clearly was considering only the number of contacts and not the quality of contacts. The auditors sent out letters to faculty indicating that the number and consistent delivery of contacts placed you in one of three categories: high risk, medium risk, and low risk. If you received a high or medium risk assessment, the rest of this presentation will help you construct your compliance plan that is described in the audit's follow-up letter. If your course received a low risk assessment, wonderful. Watch the rest of this presentation and learn more about regular and effective contact. Here are the steps to take to move forward if you received a high or medium risk assessment. Review the best practices for regular and effective contact, construct and submit your compliance plan, and most importantly, serve your students. Know that the scope of the audit was, by design, constrained for various reasons and should not be considered by you as an overall assessment of the quality of your teaching. The audit measured only regular contact, but did not measure quality of contacts or quality of your engagement with students. Just to be clear, both quantity and quality do matter. Regular contact with students is necessary, but the contacts need to be helpful or meaningful to students in order to be considered effective or substantive. Effective contacts with students should be 2 or more of these: time-bound or timely, content-related, and or student performance-related. Time-bound contacts should be relevant to the timing or schedule of the course and should include information such as due dates, study schedules, course pacing, or campus or course-related events. Content-related contacts should be about the course topics and content and should communicate to students clarification of concepts, course-relevant real-world events, or other application of course concepts. Performance-related contacts are aimed at either the entire class or at individuals, providing individual or group feedback about student performance in quizzes, exams, or assignments. Although there are no official exact recommended numbers of contacts that are considered correct, the general accepted guidelines for DE courses suggest that there be at least as many online contacts as there would be in a face-to-face course. For instance, a good guideline would be that an instructor provide at least 1 contact per course unit per week, every week. For example, a 3-unit course would provide at least 3 contacts. It could be 1 news post and 1 email to the whole class, and individual grades feedback to every student on an assignment such as a discussion board post or quiz. In a hybrid course, the contacts can be adjusted based on how many units or hours of online activity students have. For example, a 3-unit hybrid course that meets for an hour face-to-face each week will have 2 hours of distance education. That would require at least 2 contacts with students per week in that online environment. An example of adequate contacts would be to have at least, say, 1 news post and at least 1 email to the class each week. Other ways of contacting students would be acceptable, but that would just be one example. So, here are the steps for completing your compliance plan. Describe the types and projected numbers of regular effective contacts you will incorporate into your fall 2015 courses. Submit that plan to your dean. Ensure that your dean has access to your course by adding her or him to your course. And of course, the DE team can help with this if you need it. Finally, ask for a copy of your submitted and approved plan with all of the appropriate signatures in place: the union rep, you, and your dean. The primary part of the compliance plan asks that you describe your planned regular and effective contacts with your students. The form lists several good examples of tools you can use: news posts, discussion posts, assignment feedback to students in the quiz or Dropbox or grades areas, emails, chat rooms, telephone calls, social media, or other options. The 2 other questions will not be applicable to most faculty. Question 2 provides an opportunity for you to explain how you will save evidence of your required contacts for future audits. This is important if you use methods we haven't mentioned here and that are not archived through D2L. Question 3 asks for you to identify professional development or assistance needed to make the necessary course changes so that you can engage in regular and effective contact. For example, you may be switching from a publisher site to D2L as your primary learning management system, and perhaps you need some one-on-one instruction in the use of D2L. Here is where you would describe what you need in that section. Finally, here are all the important signatures on the form and steps taken by others to ensure that your class will have the right regular and effective contact: your signature, your dean's signature, our union rep signature, and the dean's confirmation of assessment of your plans and course, and the dean's signature again, and the union rep signature again. Be sure to get a copy of the completed form for your records. As you can see, there's no reason to panic. Implementing regular and effective contact into your distance education course is practical and easy, and most importantly, it's helpful to students. Call the Distance Ed team or come by if you need help. They're at extensions 2636 and 2637 in the Learning Resources Building, room 112. Also check out our website at scc.losrios.edu/distance for more information.